I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is PsycHack's Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic of today's short talk is how to marry a rich, attractive man. So this one is for the ladies. Today, I'm going to teach you how to do this because it's apparently what a lot of you want to do. So let's get right to it. First of all, let's be clear. When I say rich, I mean real rich. Rich in the sense that you don't have to work anymore. Rich in the sense that you can do whatever you want, whether that be traveling the world and enjoying all kinds of luxurious and pleasurable experiences, or staying at home and raising a bunch of kids. Marrying a man of considerable means will always be a dream of many women, as through him, a woman will be able to realize her dreams without all that pesky work. By conquering one man, she can conquer the world. Combine this with a man who is also handsome and charming and interesting and famous, and you have a very attractive option indeed. So it should go without saying, ladies, that this is the very hardest man to marry. As I discussed in a previous episode, if a man is rich and attractive, he's not going to be loyal. So if you're targeting this type, the playboy, for matrimony, you first need to have a real hard look at the woman in the mirror. Such men are like double black diamonds. If you are not an expert skier, you should probably stay on the bunny slopes and deal with the fact that that's the best that you can do. Punching outside your weight class is only going to get you hurt. That said, rich, attractive men do marry women, so it is possible to capture this quarry. However, you will need to pour a good deal of effort and intention into your seduction. There's no way around it. But you know what? That's totally fair. Like if you're trying to seduce a man whose lifestyle would enable you to never work again, guess what? You'll need to put as much effort into the process as you would put into working a job until you're 65. Because that's probably what you're going to end up doing if you fail, even if you end up marrying a less wealthy man in today's economy. You need to take your seduction seriously and pour a lot of effort and attention into the process. Otherwise, it's never going to work. So how do you do this? Well, first and foremost, you need to be very physically attractive and sexually available. If you are neither very attractive or you have qualms about offering sex, it's probably not going to work. And you will be better off hunting for different prey. As I've said before, you need to tempt men with the richest, creamiest milk that you can possibly offer. This is the Trojan horse that induces men to open the gates and invite you into the city. However, merely being physically attractive and sexually available will not be enough to capture a man. This is because what opens the gate is not what conquers the city. The two phases call for two different suites of skills, and you will fail if you don't possess both. The same is true for all kinds of relationships. Like, how often do you interview for a job after you've been hired? If you don't interview well, you might not ever be hired. But if you don't work well, your tenure there will likely be very short-lived. And this, of course, is what most women fear, that once they begin a sexual relationship, they will simply be discarded afterward. And while this can happen, this generally doesn't occur because the man is just an insatiable rake. These men exist, but most men are very far from that archetype. Men typically don't throw women out after initiating a sexual relationship because it is typically very time-consuming, difficult, and expensive to initiate a sexual relationship with any one woman. Spending weeks to seduce a woman for a single night of pleasure is a significant loss. So most men would prefer to get a better return on their investment. This is an unpopular belief, but if a woman is thrown out of the city after she's been invited in, it's probably because she did not develop the second suite of skills and very likely bungled the opportunity she had created for herself. Usually, this is due to some offensiveness in her behavior. Was she disagreeable? Was she demanding? Was she jealous? Was she critical? Was she judgmental? Was she boring? Was she self-absorbed? Was she withholding? Like, these things are not going to work. They don't work on any men, but men with fewer options and less sense will put up with them. Not so of our much prized quarry. If you're targeting a rich, attractive man, you cannot be any of these things. Remove them. If not from your personality, then at least from your presentation when you're in his presence. Like, if you want to keep your high-paying job, then you have to be professional at all times. Some women seem to believe they can dispense with professionalism as soon as they've been hired. My dear, it's your first week on the job. You should be trying to figure out who's who, not rearranging the office furniture. You can come to exercise considerable power and control over a man. However, you have to cultivate this slowly and in the proper ways. So if you're a woman and you find it difficult to stay in relationships with the men you really want, it's probably because you are attractive enough to be hired, but too offensive to be retained. Just telling it like it is. If you appreciate the insights on this channel, I would highly encourage you to get your hands on a copy of my book, The Value of Others. Over the course of 432 pages, I delve deep into my economic model of relationships and explain the behavior of both men and women in the game of mating and dating. I also provide a lot of actionable advice on how to get and keep more of what you want in the sexual marketplace. Once you read The Value of Others, you'll never look at relationships the same way again. Now available in ebook, audiobook, and paperback formats. The links are in the description. Now here's the thing. A rich, attractive man isn't going to marry a beautiful woman just because she is inoffensive. That's not enough. There is something else she must do. And to explain what this something else is, I'm going to tell you a short story. It's a very old story, but it exemplifies this something else better than any other story I know. Here it is. A long time ago, there lived a rich and powerful king. And as is often the case with rich and powerful men, this king had a penchant for the ladies. Every day, his servants brought him a selection of beautiful women. He would choose the one that tickled his fancy, spend the night with her, and have her killed in the morning. One day, the king's servants brought him a young woman of uncommon beauty. And it was, of course, a foregone conclusion that the king should choose her for his night of pleasure. However, this woman was exceedingly rare. Not only was she very beautiful, but she was also extremely clever. She had heard the stories of the king's nightly conquests and knew the fate that awaited her in the morning. And since necessity is the mother of invention, our heroine hatched a plan. Here's what she came up with. That night, once she was alone with the king, she started to tell him a story. And not just any story, a story that catered exactly to the king's tastes. With her words, she was able to draw him into a tale of high romance. There was exciting adventure and torrid sensuality and noble heroes. She was so lively and amusing and entertaining that the king was drawn into her story. And just as she was approaching a climax, she suddenly became very tired and begged the king's permission to finish the story tomorrow. Now, the king was put off by this. This wasn't how things usually went. However, he found himself wanting to know what happened. And of course, if he killed the woman in the morning, he would never know. So what's the harm? The king thought to himself. I'll let her finish in the morning and then just kill her the day after. That is a small price to pay to hear how the story ends. However, as you might imagine, the story did not end tomorrow. The woman was always one step ahead. Just as things seemed to be headed to a resolution, she would introduce a new crisis or character to keep things moving. Night after night, the woman delayed her execution by one day. Her heroes were so memorable. A swashbuckling sailor, the noble leader of a gang of thieves, A street urchin who discovers a magic lamp that the king could not help but care deeply about their trials and victories. And through it all, there was the woman, so charming, so alluring, so intriguing. Night after night, the woman cast her spell on the king, who eventually succumbed to her enchantment. Finally, after evading death for 1,001 consecutive nights, an unprecedented and miraculous feat, the woman had achieved her victory. The king had fallen in love with Scheherazade. Instead of killing her, he made her his queen, and the two ruled together in loving harmony for many years after. The end. So, that's the secret, ladies. If you want to capture the king, if you want to marry a rich, attractive man, then you have to channel your inner Scheherazade. It is not enough to be attractive. Scheherazade was beautiful. It's why she was chosen. But if she were only beautiful, she would have been discarded in the morning. What Scheherazade did, what was central to her victory, was captivate the king. To conquer the city, a woman must captivate its king. So many women out there are dull, boring, entitled, and self-centered. They don't know what a particular man wants. They don't care what a particular man wants, so they never bother to learn. Why make an effort when you're the prize to be won, right? Good. The more of those women there are, the easier it will be for you, my clever and enchanting female audience, to work your magic. In fact, it may never be easier to stand out from the mass of charmless and misguided women than it is today. When you're hunting a specific rich, attractive man, it is imperative that you do your homework. All men are not the same. Not only must you remove all offensiveness in your dealings with him, after all, kings are notoriously capricious, you also have to understand the very specific tastes and preferences and interests of the person in question. Cater to them. If he likes adventure, give him thrills and novelty. If he likes ideas, give him sparkling wit and conversation. If he likes challenge, give him obstacles and a good chase. But don't assume the same strategy will work on them all. Differentiate yourself from the women who don't make an effort past their own appearance. Be charming and entertaining and delightful. Adapt to his preferences and values and let time work its magic. It won't happen overnight. So you will need to exercise patience. However, like the king, the man on whom you have set your designs may eventually come to realize that he can't live without you. So that's how you do it, ladies. To marry a rich, attractive man, you will need to captivate and enchant. The risks in such a hunt are high, but if you carry it off successfully, you will be well compensated for your pains. What do you think? Does this fit with your own experience? Let me know in the comments below. And please send this episode to someone who you think might benefit from its message, as it's word-of-mouth referrals like this that really help to make the channel grow. And anyone looking to join my free weekly newsletter or book a paid one-on-one consultation can do so on my website. The links to everything are in the description below. As always, I appreciate your support and thank you for listening.